Hello, I'm Scott Roth. I'm the instructor for the Second World War. And I just wanted to provide this welcome video to let you know a little bit about me, a little bit about the class. For me personally, I have been at Bellevue University in some capacity for about 17 years now. I've been an instructor. I started as an adjunct. Now I'm a full-time instructor. Been doing that for 4 or 5 years. Earned my Bachelor of Arts in History at Nebraska at Kearney. Earned a Master of Arts in Leadership at Bellevue and a Master of Arts in History from the University of Memphis. And that is when I started teaching at Bellevue. Now, some ideas about the class as we get ready. A few things I always try to communicate. Keys to success, first and foremost, communication. This is part of a few different things. First of all, always check your Bellevue email. This is the default email that comes from Blackboard. And I have students who don't use it, and I emphasize using it, and they still don't use it, and then they miss key communications. Read your Bellevue email. Make sure to read announcements. I communicate important things in there, and I'll get to some of that here in a minute, of what I include, but there are also kind of general earmarks for the class. Now, the thing is, it can be very challenging to communicate in online classes, right? This is why I rely upon email and announcements. And the third part of this, my feedback. Please make sure to read my feedback. I provide it for you to help you with your assignments, not just for this class, but other classes. And also, I will ask questions on the discussion board. Please feel free to answer those. Those are often for your sake, again, to help you maybe clarify an answer or add on to it. Now, a second key, of course, is participation on the discussion board. Each week, there is a minimum requirement of 3 replies. Obviously, you can write more, and the more substantial replies you provide, the better you're going to do, right? I believe that students learn from each other, our own points of view, etc. That can be as helpful as a text or as a video lecture. So please participate, share your thoughts. Be polite, of course, but this is important. Another thing, and anybody who's taken me for a class before knows, I emphasize proper source material. This is integral for any college level class, especially upper level classes such as this one. In the toolbox, I have provided a few documents that help to detail this. For example, what is a scholarly source? What is a primary source? Along these lines, you'll want to cite appropriately, right? You want to avoid plagiarism. You want to give proper credit to the source from which you got the information. Now, what do you cite? Quotations, statistics, unique claims by historians. There are a variety of things, but the minimum, again, any statistic or any quotation from a source. This might sound strange, but use quotation marks. I run into students who don't use quotation marks. Use quotation marks to show that it's somebody else's quote, right? But this, again, provides proper credit to your source, which is necessary. Any questions, you can contact me, or I would recommend the Purdue OWL website. If you do any kind of Google search, you'll find that right away. It provides details on how to cite, what to cite, a lot of good stuff like that. So another thing that's important, especially in these upper level classes, is critical thinking. Engage these topics and sources critically. Take a deeper look at things. Historians are not always correct. Hard to believe, right? Trust but verify, if you will. At the center of this is context. And again, anybody who's taken a class with me knows context is at the center of the study of history. What was going on at the time, for example? What was the zeitgeist or spirit of the age? How did that affect things? Context is absolutely essential. Seek to understand more than just the what. Sure, maybe you want to read about Versailles. Maybe you want to talk about appeasement. But go deeper than just the what. Seek out the why. That's what historians are looking for. The facts in the past are not really in doubt. But when you get to the true crux of these things, such as motivation, that is where you truly learn about history. A final thing I'm going to mention about success in this class, this may seem simple, read instructions. If you have questions, contact me. Every term, I'll have students who don't follow instructions, and it does end up hurting them and their learning and their grade. This class is particularly important because the midterm and the final paper are historiographical essays, which we'll get to in a minute. As mentioned earlier, in the toolbox, I provide tools. There is a folder entitled Writing Assistance. This includes some of the documents I mentioned earlier. What is a scholarly source? What is a primary source? It includes also a general rubric for writing called Tips for Good Writing. It also includes instructions on how to write a historiographical essay, as well as providing a sample historiographical essay. Another important tool that I provide are video lectures. In the announcements each week, I will provide at least one video lecture that connects to that topic. Oftentimes, you might use these to help answer the questions for the discussion board, but these help to fill in the gaps that the text cannot provide. Our text is somewhat brief. It doesn't get into the detail it probably should, but my video lectures will help with that considerably. Now, as I mentioned, there are two major papers this term. Each one is a historiographical essay. This is not a traditional research paper. The sole focus of a historiographical essay is to address how historians have analyzed and interpreted the past, the conclusions that they have rendered, and how did they reach these. Thus, these papers analyze secondary scholarly sources written by historians. You're not going to use websites, you're not going to use primary sources about this topic. Again, the goal is to analyze how these sources compare, contrast, etc. So, as I mentioned, the topic will be, it has to be the exact same topic. For example, maybe two historians disagree on the importance of D-Day. Sounds good. Maybe two historians analyze island hopping and its impact. Great. The origins of the war? Perfect. But if you want to compare Allied and Axis strategies, for example, no. Those are two completely different things. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, the point of a historiographical analysis is to compare and contrast two sources, not two concepts. It sounds more difficult than it is, as it actually helps narrow the focus of a paper considerably. You're taking two or three sources and you're just looking at them and the arguments made and how these historians support these arguments. Again, I've provided some extra instructions as well as a sample historiography in the toolbox to assist. A couple quick things. Content. Now, in the classroom, I start this class in the late 19th century with the conflicts that acted as a precursor to World War I, which was, of course, somewhat of a precursor to World War II. Now, to get this out of the way, I do not subscribe to the claim that Versailles is what led to World War II. Yes, it played a part. It contributed, but there was a lot more going on, notably Western acquiescence, which we'll get to when we discuss appeasement at length. But when I look at the late 19th century, I look at the era of alliances throughout that century, the forays into imperialism, including, for example, the scramble for Africa, the Franco-Prussian War, which plays a pretty big part in what will undergird the tensions between these two countries, and of course the unification of Germany in 1871. Historical events did not occur in a vacuum. This is all important context. That is a C word you will hear me say quite a bit this term. We will move through both wars, end up on the other side of the Cold War, or on the other side with the Cold War, which was created and in some ways perpetuated by the Second World War. All right, welcome to the class. I look forward to getting things started. This has the potential to be a great class, but it is up to all of us, you and me. I will do my best. Please do your best. Please look ahead to the assignments, peruse the syllabus. If you have questions, please reach out. But let's get going on World War II. If I can get this to stop.